They were 23 and 25, and when they died, their car had over 130 bullet holes in it. People called them lovers, some even called them heroes. But the truth is, they were just two young people who made one decision they could never take back. So, how do two people end up there? To understand that, you have to go back, way back, to Texas, to poverty, to two childhoods that were already shaped by laws. Before they became headlines, they were just Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, two kids born into different corners of Texas. Two lives had started with very little, and two people who, in their own ways, spent their early years searching for something bigger than what they'd been given. Bonnie Parker was born on October 1st, 1910, in Ravenna, Texas. She was the second of three children. Her father was a bricklayer. He died when Bonnie was just 4 years old. And if you think about it, losing a parent that young changed the shape of your life before you're even old enough to understand what's happened. After his death, Bonnie's mother moved the family to West Dallas. It was glamorous. It was a rough industrial era, but with working families trying to survive. But Bonnie stood out. Teachers described her as a bright, creative, sharp. She loved poetry, loved performing. She dreamed of becoming an actress. You can almost picture it. A young girl standing in front of a mirror, imagining applause from people she'd never met. Even then, she wanted to be seen. She didn't just want a life, she wanted a life that mattered. At 16, she married her high school sweetheart, Roy Thornton. Too young. Way too young. The marriage quickly fell apart, Roy drifted into crime and eventually prison. And Bonnie was left behind. Still legally married, still stuck, working as a waitress, serving people day after day, while wondering if this was really all life had planned for her. Clyde's story started differently, but it carried the same feeling. He was born on March 24, 1909, in Tellico, Texas, into a poor farming family with 7 children. His family was so poor that when they moved to Dallas, they reportedly spent time living under their wagon before they could afford even a tent. Imagine that, sleeping under a wagon, watching other people live ordinary lives while yours begins in a survival mode. That kind of childhood teaches you things. It teaches resentment, it teaches hunger, and sometimes it teaches you that the rules weren't built for people like you. Clyde was clever. He loved music, played the saxophone. For a while, he dreamed of becoming a musician. And that's one of the saddest parts of this story, because it reminds you that before all the violence, before the headlines, there was still a kid who wanted something beautiful. But somewhere along the way, that dream got replaced by frustration, by anger, by desperation. He was arrested as a teenager. At first, it was small things. Stolen cars, party theft, the kinds of crimes people sometimes convince themselves are temporary, just until life gets better. But those choices have momentum, and momentum is dangerous. January 1930, a small house in West Dallas. Bonnie was helping a friend recover from an injury. Clyde dropped by, and then they met. Some accounts say Bonnie was making hot chocolate in the kitchen when she first saw him. It sounds almost absolutely normal. Hot chocolate, a kitchen, a quiet afternoon. The kind of ordinary moment that gives absolutely no hint that history is about to begin. People call it love at first sight, maybe. Or maybe it was something more complicated. Recognition. Two people who both felt trapped. Two people who believed life owed them more. And suddenly, there was someone standing in front of them who understood exactly what that felt like. They connected fast, really fast. But just weeks later, Clyde was arrested again and sent to prison. This is where this story truly turns. Prison didn't just punish Clyde. It broke something inside him. Accounts from the time describe brutal conditions at Estonham prison farm. Hard labor, violence, abuse, humiliation. Clyde was reportedly assaulted by another inmate. Eventually, that inmate was killed. And whether Clyde directly delivered that violence or simply survived through it, the damage was done. The person who entered prison was not the same person who left it. He came out harder, colder, more certain that he would never allow himself to feel powerless again. And Bonnie, she could be walked away. She had every reason to, but she didn't. She stepped closer, and sometimes the biggest moments in life don't feel dramatic at all. Sometimes they are quiet. A choice, a decision, a single yes that changes everything after it. It didn't start with big bank robberies. That's Hollywood. Reality was smaller, messier. Stolen cars, gas stations, roadside stores, quick jobs for quick cash. And for a while, it probably felt exhilarating. No schedules, no bosses, no waiting tables, no being invisible, just movement, speed, freedom, or at least something that looked enough like freedom to believe in. But crime has gravity. The deeper you go, the harder it is to climb back out. And eventually, people got hurt. Then people died. At least a dozen deaths have been linked to the Barrow Gang, including law enforcement officers. And once that line was crossed, there was no going back. This part always feels strange, because despite everything, many Americans admired them. That sounds impossible now, but context matters. This was the Great Depression. Banks had taken homes, families had lost farms, people were desperate, the system had failed millions. So when newspaper published photos of Bonnie, teeny, smiling, holding a gun with a cigar in her mouth, it looked rebellious, it looked like a defiance, like someone refusing to bow to a world that had already crushed everyone else. But the truth was uglier. They weren't living glamorous outlaw lives. They were exhausted, hungry, sleeping in stolen cars, living on canned food and scraps, always watching, always running. That's not freedom, that's survival. People love the romance, the mythology, the tragic lovers. And yes, there was likely real love there. But it wasn't simple. It was built inside chaos, inside fear, inside dependency. When two people become each other's own constant, that bond feels powerful, sometimes even scared. But intensity isn't always held. Sometimes it's just survival wearing the mask of life. And by then, they were too deep in, too wanted, too known. There was no normal life waiting for them, only the road and each other. By 1934, they were exhausted. Witnesses described them as worn down. Bonnie had severe burns from a car crash during one escape. Some reports say Clyde had to carry her. They were running on adrenaline and habit, nothing more. Law enforcement had enough. A six-man posse waited on a rural Louisiana road. May 23, 1934, morning. Bonnie and Clyde drove into the trap. No warning, no negotiation, gunfire. More than 130 rounds. And just like that, the legend ended. Crowds scattered almost immediately. People started, some cried, some celebrated, some even tried to tear pieces from the car as souvenirs, which says something deeply unsettling about fame. Even then, even covered in blood, they were still a spectacle, still a story people wanted to own. Bonnie was 23, Clyde was 25. That's it. That's how young they were. They wanted more, a bigger life, a louder life, a life that proved they mattered. And they burned everything down cashing it. What looked like freedom was a cage. What felt like a love was partly survival. And what became one of America's most famous legends was really just two young people running out of road.